Warmly welcome. Now we have all the participants. So we were talking about in the scenario what I shared with all of you. What I really want to understand about your feelings, your deeper understanding about the scenario. Because I always believe if you can understand the scenario, understand the question or the logic of the question, your answers are already there because it's an open book exam. But if someone couldn't understand, God forbid, the real meaning of that scenario or the logic of that scenario, and then of course the understanding of the questions, then the answers would be, zigzag actually. While NEBOSH examiners, what they exactly expect that your answers must be in line with the scenario and the questions, whatever they ask, must be clearly understood by all of you. Either you give the answers from the theory, from this presentation, from your NEBOSH IGC books, or you get it from OSHA, you get it from ILO. NEBOSH doesn't stop us actually. But several people, they face that issue, how to understand that scenario. So one tip I can share with all of you, you have to use your power of focus. First of all, you have to be fully attentive, remove all the barriers and thoughts, whatever is trying to come in your mind, stop and put that lock, and then read that scenario at least 2 to 3 times, minimum 2 times, maximum even 5 times. It's all up to you. It depends on your understanding. But if we really want to achieve 100% marks, inshallah, so the understanding of that scenario is so critical. That is why I'm requesting, you guys, the moment you will study that scenario, I really want to know about your understanding, about your feelings, any kind of fears even. Be open and discuss, during the training. Might be tomorrow or might be day after tomorrow. It's up to you. I have no, because still training is going on. And this scenario, basically, you are having such kind of scenarios every day on the job, at your sites. But we never write those stories, what is going on every day at our site, And might be in the scenario, he will highlight the accident, any sort of accident. That means investigation would also be there. Might be he highlighted this accident and reported to the government. That means the government inspectors would also be there. And what would be their duties and how they would be acting on it. So we will write. What I mean is, finding the answer is not a problem because it's an open book. You will definitely find the right answer. But if you will not understand, God forbid, the real logic or technical grounds of that scenario, then your answers wouldn't be straightforward, according to the, because every answer we have to give in line with the scenario. So that means the crux of the exam is the understanding of the scenario. That was the little bit motivation. Now you take your time, maybe today, tomorrow, whenever you get time, read for 2-3 times the scenario what I shared with all of you. And I really want to know your understanding level, or might be you can explain in your own words, oh, this is what the scenario is all about. And then the questions are pretty straightforward. And later on, you can find the right answers, and I'll share my answers also with all of you. Like yesterday, I asked some questions in line with the scenario. So I will share the answers later on. But after having your answers, might be someone of you can give better answer even than me also. So no harm to appreciate and share with all of us, because I told you, it's a game of learning from each other. So today, our element number 3 is all about managing risk and understanding people and processes. And whenever the word people comes, I personally also start feeling, people means by nature, everyone is different. Educational background, again, a lot of differences. Cultural backgrounds, even nationalities. I mean, might be different nationalities are working at one project. Then I will start thinking the moment people are there, oh, negative people, positive people, how I have to play like a psychiatrist to understand the psyche of my employees, within my company. When the people comes, I start thinking, oh, human errors, unintentional and intentional human errors. That means can create disaster anytime. When I start thinking people, I also start thinking about their emotional intelligence or their different kind of personality drawbacks, or maybe the percentage of strengths as well, As a safety leader, the more we understand our people, our employees, more easier it would be for us to implement health and safety management system within our companies, Any safety leader who doesn't have proper understanding of their employees or kind of their team members, it's hard for him to be an effective leader within that company actually. Because then I also start thinking the moods of people. The moment people comes in my mind, I also started thinking the moods. Oh, it's not my mood today. My mood is not to take training. Oh, so it's quite normal, right? It's natural. Because might be you have certain issues in your life, God forbid, and still you are bound to join this training. So your mood is not good today. I also have to think all this either to make my training more fruitful, so might be you can still spend the day. Otherwise, I should understand and give some level of motivation or solutions, because if your mood is bad, more probability, more chances of disasters, at our site especially. Oh, crane operator's mood is very angry today. That means the probability gone up of any sort of gravitational incidents or accidents. The mood of our safety manager is not good today. That means he will not be focusing with positive insights everywhere. So more chances of incidents or accidents because his mood is not good today. So I can manage maybe 1,000 machines quite easily, but managing even 50 different brains is quite challenging. And that is why now we have masters in public administration, Like we have MBA, masters in business administration. Now we have masters in public administration. Why they created all these programs? Because dealing with people is one of the most critical job in the world. Just for your motivation, you come to my company and you're gonna say, okay, Ishtiaq, Mr. Ishtiaq Rana, I will not accept this salary less than 100,000 riyal. So what if I ask, okay, how many people you can manage? If you're gonna say, I can manage, I've been managing even only 2-3 team members throughout my career. So this figure is enough for me that you don't deserve actually the 100,000. If I'm taking you as a production manager or as a operation manager or as a project manager, it's not a handsome figure for me to offer you 100,000 or accept your offer or your expectations 100,000 real. But if you're gonna say me that I've been involved and dealing with more than 500 people at a time as a project manager or as an operation manager or as a safety leader or manager, it will definitely give me some energy. Oh, he's a leader actually, because he can deal people more effectively. So that's what I'm looking for. So if you have intention to increase your package, If you want to work even as a general manager or as a director even, you have to increase the numbers that I can manage 100 people, I can manage 200 people at any project. Then the businessman have no problem, because he needs a person who can manage people. The processes, of course, again, we required people. Machines, again, we required people. No doubt, artificial intelligence, robotic technology still coming in a way. But even for that one, also we need people. So our employees are our biggest asset. So the more people you can manage, more better salary you can expect and even can demand. Sometimes you say, or our general manager, technically he's zero. He doesn't know anything, but still he's a general manager. Might be just because he has some people's management better skills, even than you, because he doesn't come into emotions. He has solid control. His decision powers are based on data. He doesn't take abrupt decisions, which can lead to an organization in a junky red zone, actually. The GM, he always sit in the office, does nothing. But still business is growing up and up. That means he's managing people. He's motivating, might be the managers. Managers are motivating to the supervisors. So the whole circle of chain or the process chain are being managed excellent through people motivation, and that's why he's getting more salary. And if we are the businessman, we also required that great quality, how to tackle people, how to build a team. I hope you got the point, because we got in third, understanding people. So understanding people is a very in-depth subject, because everyone is unique. Even the son is not similar to his father. Habitually, by nature, by mood, by age also. The age difference is another. Generation gaps even, plenty of things. But managing processes, of course, if we have right person for the right job, it's quite easy to manage, inshallah. And now we have latest technologies. So managing process is not becoming so much critical, but optimization of processes, again, required a lot of innovation, creativity, and the high set of competence. I mean, just to think one time, why Sadara is still keeping you? Because you are the right person for the right job. They are happy with your skill set, your seriousness, your focus. Might be your leadership skills also. That is why still you are having this job, and every month you are getting paycheck. Otherwise, businessman will never pay even a single penny if he got the analysis, oh, this gentleman is not beneficial for me. I'm paying him 50,000 real, but he's not giving me benefit even above than 50,000. So why I need to pay 50,000 to him, So businessmen calculate, the investment of each position, even in annual budget. If you talk to your finance and accounts department, they have complete analysis of each position. If we are paying to that position that much amount, these are the benefits we're going to get, and it's the right salary for that gentleman, according to his competence, according to his leadership skills, according to the technical part he is going to play. So he deserves few more salaries every month. But the moment they will evaluate you are no more beneficial and you are not adding value within your company, then of course they have no other choice. So as a professional, if we really want to work, we have to learn how to manage people, how to manage processes. And this is one of the best skill in the world, I would say. And because both people and process, the link is with the risk and hazards, And that is why we need safety leaders with better people management skills and even process-oriented hazards and controls and precautions. They can suggest much better. They can optimize also to help to the operation managers or quality managers. They can work with them. They can suggest them, this is how quality and productivity can go up, instead of just being silent and then operations gonna say, oh, safety is just a waste of time. They always come and stop the operation. And within 1 hour, millions of real losses there. Why they stopped it? So we take a lot of pressures later on. But if we work with them and optimize, and we are the right person for the right job with high tech of competence, then we'll be supporting them, right? So they would have no problem to work with us. So element 3 is very, very much important, even though the first 2 elements, like why we should manage workplace health and safety, is quite clear to everyone, I hope. How health and safety management system work and what they look like, we discussed yesterday. And the third element, managing risk, understanding people and processes, we are going to discuss in detail today, inshallah. Can I dare to ask to all of you, how many people you are managing every day? Any one of you, if you have a leadership position, how many people, how many employees you are managing every day? Within your department or even at your project, how many employees are there? You have interaction, you know. Any one of you, please. Hello, I hope you'll give some feedback. How many employees you are managing as a safety leader or whatever position you have?
No, we are not managing anyone.
Now, how many people you are interacting every day? You are going to them, you are talking about safety, you are asking some reports.
Are you asking for customers like we are a support function, so operation will be considered as?
Yeah. Anyway, how many people you are interacting every day? You know, with how many people? Like 15, 10, 20?
100, let's say.
In average, yeah, 100. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you are brilliant, mashallah, because I told you, managing 2 brains is so difficult. But if you are interacting with 100 different people, they are basically different, unique brands, by nature. I told you, by culture even. So it's great if you are interacting with a lot of people. That means your people management skills are improving every day. And that is why you are successful at your job, mashallah. But anyhow, the learning objective of element 3 is all about, we have to understand and describe the concept of health and safety culture and how it influences performance. That is why we need highly tech experts, to implement or to create a better safety culture by using like BBS or plenty of other tools. Then also the second outcome and the learning objective is summarize how health and safety culture at work can be improved, because the biggest room in the world is the room for further improvement. It's not like we're gonna say, oh, this is the maximum, we can't do anything else, or we can't improve further. No. Still there is a chance for further improvement. Now, summarize the human factors. This is the most important one, which positively or negatively influence behavior at work in a way that can affect health and safety. If you remember, I gave one example. If a general manager is not respecting safety regulations, the trickle-down effect will be very negative within the organization. That is why the human factors and their behaviors have a lot of impact, especially if top management is not committed and they are not respecting safety rules and regulations, going to the side and ignoring all safety regulations, then the things would be terrible, because the minds of the employees is being trained that if top management is not following safety, why should we? Same way, we're gonna learn about the principles of risk assessment process, how we have to conduct risk assessment, and discuss typical workplace changes that have significant health and safety impacts, ways to minimize those impacts. We'll discuss that one, the workplace changes especially. And another objective is to understand, to develop and implement the safe system of work for general activities, especially. And also we're going to discuss about the role, function, and operation of a permit to work system. We call it PTW also. And brand wise, they have their own PTW system like Saudi Aramco, like Sabiq, and might be Sadara. You would also have your own set of procedures, Now, discuss typical emergency procedures, including training and testing. Testing means drills, validating the system that it's been working, and in case of emergency, the action of the people would be on the same as per the emergency plan. And also we're going to discuss what level of first aid is needed in the workplace. We'll discuss in the emergency procedures. So these are some of the objectives of element 3. So let's talk about health and safety culture. Before we understand anything from NEBOSH, why can't we share our experience? What do you think? What is safety culture? How would you define it actually? How would you define the HSC culture of your company or anything else coming in your mind? Health and safety culture. What does that mean?
How we are performing the safety in our company. What's our way to handle or to take the corrective actions, for examples, or to report or communicate or aware the employees about the health and safety.
So that means a very responsible culture, that everybody accept the ownership and they feel, yes, safety is my responsibility also. And they cooperate. Their communication, their teamwork is excellent, and very few safety violations, because they don't want to, even they highlight if someone is going to do any unsafe act or trying to work in an unsafe condition, they also help and teach to each other. That's why we have stop cut movement, that is why we have red tag movement, and we support each other. It's not like blame shame culture, but it's a part of creating a better safety culture, to create a better seriousness also, that why safety is important, especially in high hazardous industries. Safety culture is the, I would say, the better safety culture is the need of that company, because the organization is already in the red zone actually. Like oil and gas itself is a tickling bomb. A smallest mistake is all over. That is why a lot of refineries, oil rig sites, if you go back and check 200 years history, a lot of terrible incidents have happened, and a lot of lessons they have learned so far. But still, we need to improve further day to day, and every time we don't stop to improve actually. But yes, the key part is the behaviors. If a company have unsafe behaviors, mostly, and why they have, because they simply damn care what is safety is all about, and no self-realization. And on the other side, if we have safest behavior and our employees are feeling that their safety is their own responsibility. So yes, safety, HR, quality, all other departments, even maintenance, they are the supportive department. So he willingly go to them, and if there is any issue, he highlights, so in my department I need these improvements, and here I need your support. So they're not like waiting for someone to support, they ask for support, but through reporting actually. If something is dangerous or risky within their area, they will definitely report back. It's a very responsible kind of culture. And it's a teamwork is a key actually. Now, the safety culture of an organization is the shared attitude, because you are sharing your behaviors, attitude, values, beliefs, and behaviors relating to health and safety. And it will be positive or negative. Like your values, your attitude, beliefs, and behaviors can be positive, can be negative. Now here, personally, I can create a question. How would we measure? How are we gonna check either we have positive attitude or negative attitude, or we have positive behaviors or negative behaviors? How we will collect that data actually? Or we will just visiting and getting, or we are better face readers, or we have some data which can tell, oh, within our company, we have 90% positive behaviors. But still you are claiming 10% negative behaviors. So the question is, how do you decide, this percentage actually? Based on what data? What is your opinion on it? How do you measure the positive behaviors and negative behaviors within your company actually? Or even attitude, values, beliefs, any factor we can take here, but let's take behaviors. What is coming in your mind, guys? How would we measure, oh, our company have positive behaviors, all employees have positive? How you are claiming 100% positive behaviors within our company? Because no employee is having negative behavior. But how would you prove it? How would you give objective evidence, of that claim? That means the data will be speaking up, like you have 0 injuries, you have 0 accident, you have 0 safety violations or 0 unsafe acts. If that is the data available, then of course you can claim, oh, because it is happening, because you have positive behaviors within your company. Or if accident graph is going up and up, or injuries graph going up and up, or people are getting more, like absenteeism is going higher, or more safety violations you are recording every day, and the numbers are increasing, God forbid. The data shows there are some negative behaviors. They don't care what safety is all about, or what are the rules or regulations of safety. It's a very detailed subject. The psychiatrists have written a lot of books only on human behavior. It's a very deep subject. Like if you start thinking like a psychiatrist, then might be you can measure some of the depth what we are talking about. It's a deeper subject, and every day is a new day and might be a new behavior also, you never know. Like one gentleman, he was excellent for the last 1 year, but immediately because of some financial issues, family issues, some, the poor behavior of his supervisor might be, immediately now we are facing a very different behavior. The person who was having positive behavior for the last 1 year, now immediately it's a negative behavior now. So if you have positive behaviors, the real challenge is maintainability, sustainability. How are you going to maintain, this positive percentage of behaviors within your company? This is a huge challenge. That is why it's a teamwork, it's a continual motivation, it's a continual involvement, working with them, and sharing your attitude, values, beliefs, and behaviors, and be the role model. You have to leading by example. And they always keep an eye on, oh, he's a safety professional, so let's see how many violations he is going to, and he will maybe keep their camera on. Because they believe you are the role model, you are the safety leader. So if you are violating some regulations, the impact would be terribly negative. Same way the general manager, same way the president, vice president, whosoever is there. So these are some of the positive and negative culture symptoms. Like, people think that safety is important. Is a sign of positive culture. You can have one-to-one interviews, you can have on-site visits and see how they are acting, how they are working. If they're working safely, or that means they are giving importance to safety system. If safety system is considered in all management decision making, that means whenever there is a management meeting, safety is not ignored. Something about safety has surely been discussed, or any sign of further improvement. There is another sign of positive culture, that people work safely because they want to, not because they are told to. Sometimes I say the safety culture is the moment you are in your office, how the employees are behaving. The moment all the safety team members are not available within that department or within that processes, not watching to anyone, in absence of you, the behavior of the concerned department employees is a sign of safety culture, better safety culture. Because in front of you, they will definitely be doing a lot of acting, right? But in absence of you, what is their behavior? Just you can evaluate or find out. But remember, in front of you, they can show up several positive things. But I'm talking about the moment you are not available or not visiting, then what is the behavior of your company employees? That is the real, genuine data, which you need to evaluate. Now, all workers are positively influenced by this peer thinking and behavior. So all workers to each other, they are the motivators, because they all are trying to be the role model. Let me give you one example. You have 20 different departments. So which department you believe is the best one? And if you evaluate further, you will see they are working as a team, they help each other, they support each other, especially to follow safety regulations, and they respect safety as a team actually. And that is why within that department, you have no injuries, no accidents, no poor housekeeping, no unnecessary items, no violation to PPs. Everything is perfect, the way you have given them the training or kind of procedures. But now let's take few examples of negative culture. Lots of people think safety is of low priority. Lots of people think safety is of low priority, and you can measure it because you have a lot of subcontractors of Sadara. So their behavior, the way they are delivering your project, you can observe. In presence of you, might be safety is a priority, but in absence of you, no more priority, just rushing up and finishing the project. So culture is the moment you are not looking at it. Safety is not considered in decision making at any level. People will only work safely if they are told to. Every time you are going there and telling them, please wear your helmet, please use full body harness, please don't work without your ID, make sure it is valid. Please avoid horseplay. So every time you are requesting, every day you are telling them. You're a continual reminder to them, that's not the way actually. It's kind of a negative culture that people, they're not respecting safety rules and regulations. And excuses, okay, let me be straightforward. Quality, safety, credibility. No excuses. I repeat again, safety, quality, credibility. of any company, the employees can't give any excuse actually. That means it's a zero tolerance requirement. Because we know one accident can destroy the goodwill of the business and it's all over. Same way, like we discussed one incident in Makkah, the tower crane. Bin Laden, you know how much money they lost and how many projects. And what is their goodwill even today? Otherwise, everywhere Bin Laden was being done. But now they are crying for business, I'm telling you. And if they have some business, it's directly under supervision of Saudi government, because they also got a wake-up call, to be very honest, that safety is something very serious. We also have to be more involved instead of relying on the company safety system. That is why the Saudi government is becoming more serious, and in future, they will not accept any violations. And if violations are there, you will get fine policy against every violation. Not only on the road, even within your company, the time is coming, because they want to create the safest culture in Saudi Arabia. Let me give you one example, practical example of our Saudi Arabia. You know this red signal, the moment they publish, okay, 3,000 riyal fine if someone is crossing red signal. And there was negative debate started. Oh, 3,000 riyal is a huge money. You know, why they're doing this? But later on, everyone realized the moment accident graph gone down, because the Saudi government, they evaluated people's mind is money-driven mind. You know? If we want to correct them, they understood the culture and the behavior of the people, and they thought we only can punch with money. The more fine, the more seriousness and more safest behavior we're going to get. And now I personally noted, previously even green was blinking and still we tried to shoot up. And now yellow is blinking and everybody is stopping. No more quickness or no more abruptness, you know, nobody in hurry actually. Now they are stopping. And how many number of accidents came down, which were being happening the moment everybody was rushing, especially at the signals. Then we also sometimes take it negative. Oh, how many cameras? They are putting a lot of cameras. They're putting a lot of cameras. We you know, and why they're putting cameras? Because data is speaking. Data is telling, you know, while going from Kuba to Al-Hassa, more incidents are happening because very few cameras are there and people are violating the speed, you know, and going above than 120. And wherever they believe more incidents are happening, they put camera there, because data is, you know, database decision making is there. It's not like something immediately they'll put camera. They plan, they study, they evaluate, and then they go for this fine policy, because you know, even we we don't want to pay 3,000 riyal, you know. So if we don't want to pay, we'll never cross red signal for sure. So that is why it is very much important, you know, our decision making. How are we gonna? Because if safety is not concerned in our decision making, then nothing will be improved actually. Now, people will only work safely if they are told to, number one, and think that they will be caught and punished if they don't. So because of this threat and fear of 3,000 riyal, it's a live example, the accident gone down. And now, especially the professionals, they started appreciating, oh, it is good. That's a great thing. Because they evaluated, if we really want to change the behavior of drivers, this is the number one step. And they didn't stop. Now they are improving the infrastructure, the road condition, you know. And a lot of signals they are removing also, wherever they believe the more rushy area. So better to have overhead bridges, instead of the red signals. And the negative part, several people, they were thinking, oh, they are just making money. No, they are not making money. They are trying to keep us safe. And if you don't want to keep yourself safe, be ready for the accident, be ready to pay the fine even. So all workers are negatively influenced by this peer thinking and behavior. If the project manager, operation manager, safety manager, general manager, if they are not committed to safety, all employees will evaluate like this. Our leadership is non-serious, so why should we to be serious for safety, So they would love to take shortcuts. They'll be more ignorant. They'll damn care what would happen, They'll just be speedy to finish the job as quick as possible. And to show their heroism just to keep their boss happy. This is another terrible phenomenon. So our understanding about positive culture and negative culture must be very clear, especially as a safety leader, how people can react. And these signs you can evaluate, like in Sadara Mashallah, if you would claim our safety culture is very positive, surely you have all these points there, Now, indicators to use to assess culture, some of the indicators which I shared with all of you before also, but let me mention in detail. First of all, you can see the accidents data and the standard of investigation also. You can observe sickness rate. Yes, Mr. Abdulaziz, I totally agree with you. Safety is everyone's responsibility. Nobody can deny, by the way, janitor to general manager, everyone is responsible for safety. I mean, how come we can keep them safe for 24 hours? We can just guide them, advise them, train them, provide some technical equipments and make sure, right set of people are also being provided. So we can just support them. But ultimately, my safety, my responsibility. But how we have to create that self-realization is a terrible challenge, Mr. Abdulaziz, especially in Middle East, I'm telling you. But anyhow, accidents, sickness rates, we can observe. If sickness rates is going up and up, is a clear sign that the safety culture is not so good in this company. Absenteeism can also be observed. Staff turnover, compliance with safety rules, and worker complaints about conditions. Every time workers are coming and complaining about machine, or this machine have no guards, this machine have no sensors, this machine, is leaking, and maintenance department is not listening us. So always they are complaining, but nobody is listening them carefully, So these are the indicators we can assess the culture of any company, including our contractors, Like if you ask your contractors, send me your accident record for the last 1 year, or your investigation reports also, sickness rates also, absenteeism, staff turnover. So with this data, you can see what is the level of your contractor. And if he reports something wrong, you can audit back and have some cross questions, Now, influence of peers put people together in groups actually. Create a teamwork. Previously, individual heroes were being appreciated, but now it's a team. If you are only individually performing and and thinking you are the best, it's not being accepted or not being appreciated anymore, to be very honest. Now teams are being respected and appreciated. Even though as a human being, by nature, everybody wants to be respected and appreciated. It's a human nature. But you need to convert it as a team actually. The teams must be respected. Oh, the safety team have done their job brilliantly. If they're gonna say out of safety team, only Mr. Abdul Aziz have done something extraordinary, that would still create something, kind of professional jealousy, kind of some other negative thinking. That is why the latest phenomena, people started appreciating the teams actually. The safety team have done their job brilliantly, and that is why they achieved 5 million hours, safe million hours. And this is how you appreciate the team, instead of individuals. But ultimately, individually, definitely you are playing your role. But as a whole, as a team, make sure you're working together and you are appreciating to each other as a team actually. So you have to create interaction, because through teams, what is the benefit? If you put people together, interaction occurs, influence is exerted, hierarchy forms, known as pecking order, and even norms of behavior are established, peer group pressure is exerted, and also good indicator of health and safety culture. Sometime the safety manager, he resigned. He resigns. The reason is nobody is cooperating. Operation manager, project manager, all other guys, they don't like him. They don't want to listen to him. Many safety managers, the moment they realize nobody is listening me, nobody is respecting at all, he felt that, instead of trying again and again, better to find another job. Like someone mentioned yesterday, if that kind of culture in a picture I showed, if that would be the situation, I will resign. And he was right, by the way, because after all, we are also human, we don't want to, how much we can be positive if everything is negative. Yes, we can accept the challenge if top management commitment is there and they still trust. Yes, Mr. Abdul Aziz, only you can do it. We are with you. Then might be with that confidence, you will start improving each area and trying to make role model area wise, and things would be changed, inshallah. So peer group pressure can be harnessed and to encourage good safety related behavior. So this is a kind of group exercise. So all factors we discussed already. What factors could result in the deterioration of an organization's health and safety culture and hence safety performance? How we can improve? So all these factors we discussed already. Now, once you evaluated the level of safety culture of your company, now the improvement plan must be prepared, must be developed and established, and be ready to implement also. Because ultimately, our major responsibility is improving the health and safety culture. That's why I mentioned, if you are not a mind changer or not working as a change ambassador, or you are not a good motivator by your dealing or through your logical discussions, if you are unable to convince people that safety is important, it's a failure. It's a failure as a safety leader. So now let's see how NEBOSH is guiding us how to improve health and safety culture. So it all starts from the top. The top management commitment and leadership. And what they have to do, the senior manager, at least they must set a policy. Oh, this is the safety policy, and with zero tolerance. Everybody, all employees are responsible to follow safety policy and respect. They also set priorities and targets. They will agree safety objectives, will support you and agree, and they'll give you some sort of resources also after setting priorities and targets. They must inspire and motivate. If top management is saying, Mr. Safety Manager, keep your eyes closed because We have to finish the project as quick as possible. Otherwise, penalty clauses will be started to punish us with some fine. So what inspiration and motivation you are getting? All negative, because top management is not committed for safety, right? They don't want to follow. They love to take shortcuts because they want that job to be finished as quick as possible. And that's how they make money, or they want to save some time also. And there are plenty of other reasons, like one company, let's take Sadara's example. If your capacity is to manage 10 different projects, why you accepted 20? Because your existing capacity is to manage effectively with all your resources and human capital. You can manage 10 projects only. Why you accepted 20 projects? And creating horrible outcome for all the projects, because it's all shredded up. Now, if one project required 100 employees, and your management is saying manage it with 50 employees, what would happen? Nobody would be respecting safety rules. Whenever they get some chances, they'll ignore safety rules and move on with shortcuts. And I hope you remember I told, by taking shortcuts, the problem is we can't be lucky every time. So the trickle down effect from the management, if they are positively sound and they respect safety, the trickle down effect would be really positive. And this is how you would also be inspired and motivated. Now, their leadership cascades through the organization, and visible leadership, lead by example, the top management. Like if Sadara's general manager or managing director or even the president or the board members, if they never ever visited any project site and they are not visible as a top leaders, it's a huge gap as per current international standards. So their visible leadership must be in front of all the employees by especially how they are behaving. Are they behaving safely? Improvement, like in safety meetings, they are sharing safety meetings or participating, doing safety tours and audits, even unannounced audits. They're not telling to anyone that I'm going to visit. Surprise visits and audits and inspections, promoting changes to improve safety. Because if they are committed like this, they have understood the more better health and safety system we're gonna have, less will be the absenteeism, quality will be improved, productivity will be higher. So they understood the benefits of safety system, and they believe more better customer satisfaction as well, and more projects. So once they realized a lot of benefits are there of safety system, definitely they would start supporting, inshallah. And if they are ethically sound, like I mentioned, saving one life, saving the whole humanity. If they link, if they have that kind of mindset, there'll be more sympathy, like empathy would also be there. So willingly they'll try to serve humanity, means all their employees to keep them safe, not only to the employees, even all other stakeholders, including customers, visitors, contractors. And they would also supporting you to enforce the rules through, use of discipline actually. Because they have a live data. If we as a managing director, if we as a top management leaders, if we can follow safety, why you can't? So automatically positive trickle down effect will be there, and gradually you will see a lot of improvements in safety culture, because the top management is committed and they are a very positive leadership. But yes, nothing will work. Even top management is committed, but nothing will work if you don't have the right person for the right job. That means we require competent workers. Now, let me give you one example of Saudi Arabia. since now we are trying to be non-oil based economy. As per our 2030 vision, what we are trying, we don't want to be any more oil based economy. We want to go with non-oil based economy methods, So once this is decided, that means less imports, more exports. More exports means more local manufacturing. If you are buying $100 million products from America, you will try, it should be manufactured within Saudi Arabia. So we can reduce the price. That means inflation rate can also go down. But everywhere, if you are like implementing or launching some of the manufacturing units, that means you need more employees, more manpower. And this is the biggest challenge for Saudi Arabia, to get the competent workers, and they are facing a lot of challenges. Even Saudi Council of Engineering, they evaluated and found 30,000 fake degrees, fake engineering degrees. Check the numbers, And that was the awakening moment, even for Saudi government, to put some system in place to make sure the right person for the right job, and creating a positive competition among all the professionals. And now definitely they'll be attracting highly competent professionals from all around the world. But yes, by facilitating them, by putting them comprehensive plans for their career growth, so then they can attract. Like you check the history of USA or Canada or all others, what they do, they purchase the excellent talent across the globe. If they believe Pakistan have excellent doctors, they will purchase. They will offer high salaries, And it's a human nature also. We attract with money. Oh, much better salary, let's move on. Because ultimately, mostly people work for their families, for their better future, for self-better future. And the more competent workers you have or professionals you have, that means your country will be, inshallah, leading up in a more better way, because you have the right person for the right job. And this is the real challenge now, because this nowadays, things are changing faster than ever we thought even. So that means a lot of transformations, and we are not learning the way things are getting changed. The speed of the changes are so high, but our learning speed is not as quick the way the changes are happening. Like if we get some skills 20 years before, today they are obsolete, because things are getting changed. And now we have new normal because of this COVID-19. That is why what is become more important, if we really want to get competent person, make sure he has the sufficient trainings, skills, experience, and knowledge. TSEC, that means TSEK. So training, skill, experience, and knowledge. If someone is saying that I'm competent for this job, he is saying that I'm trained, I'm skillful, I have experience and a lot of knowledge about this particular process. That's why I'm telling I'm competent. And if you are a HR manager, you must evaluate based on these 4 words: training, skills, experience, and knowledge. And it's not always the piece of papers like the certificates you will check only. Like you have NEBOSH IGC, but you can't implement, you can't work, you can't improve anything in safety. What's the benefit of this NEBOSH IGC certificate? And that's what I'm motivating in the market also. If you are getting NEBOSH IGC certificate, that your exam is being done by someone else because you are paying him little extra money, basically it's not a good approach. Because even if you achieve NEBOSH IGC, but at the side you are unable to prove that you are the right safety professional, then you can't face that level of embarrassment and shaming moment actually at the project. People would be laughing at you because you have the certificate but no skills, no experience, no knowledge, because someone else have served you to pass your exam. So our challenge is to be competent. We have to make sure we are getting effective trainings. We are improving, developing the skill set as per our training. That means whatever knowledge we have, we are transforming, we can implement that knowledge. And through that, we have some success stories. That means the experience. And any person with all these parameters, hire him immediately. Even if you pay a little bit extra, it's all good. The reason is you don't need to train him. I mean, what's the benefit if you are hiring a person and now you need to give him 6 months training or 3 months training, and then he will add some value to your organization. Now, companies don't have time for this kind of long trail, That is why every business man, they are looking for the competent professionals. And the competent professionals, to be very honest, they don't need to find the jobs. The jobs are coming on their table, People are searching them. Oh, he's the right person. Please, I need. How much you will get? Where you are working? I'm working in Sadara. I will offer you double package. Can you join my company? So this is the competition because you are the competent professional, right? And why you are competent? You have got effective training, you have skills, you have experience and knowledge, and perhaps other attributes also, as attitude or physical ability to be able to carry out their job safely. Now, attitude. You are perfectly trained, skilled, experienced, knowledgeable, but if you have bad attitude, it's all over. Even in front of my eyes, one of the director was terminated. Sorry, managing director was terminated. Even though he was competent, he was excellent all the way. But his attitude was to coming late. So the board members, the top leadership, they thought if that kind of attitude is there and is not ready to change, so it will have very negative impacts in the minds of our employees. So we have no other option except to remove him. And they terminated, And the managing director, he was shocked. What happened to me? I repeat again, you are excellent all the way, but you have bad attitude, God forbid. It would be harder for you to establish a shining, a highly profiled career, in your profession. So be careful with that attitude and how to develop positive attitude, how to have an effective, or influencing attitude required a lot of efforts actually to develop. It's not like that everybody have by nature or by birth a good attitude, because our attitude also depends on the environment, the behavior of the other people, and so many other factors. But still, how to be getting ourselves positive into negative situation, that is our challenge. And it can happen only through if we have a strong, unchangeable, positive attitude. Now, we have a group exercise here. Identify a few examples of workplace communication from the following categories. VWG, that means verbal communication, written communication, graphic communication. So identify few examples. So let's discuss in the chat box. Can you give some examples of verbal communications? Only examples. In the chat box, please, you can mention. Examples of verbal communication. Examples of verbal communication. You can have some understanding from the next slide. First of all, verbal communication, there are some benefits because it's quite personal, quick, direct. Check understanding, feedback, share views, additional information, body language. But it's also have some limitations like language barrier, jargon, or even strong accent, dialect, background noise, poor hearing, ambiguity, missing informations, forgetting information, no record, poor quality telephone or PA. So yes, talking without documentation, but there are benefits and also limitations of verbal communication. Now let's talk about written communication, like some examples of written communication. You can take again understanding within Sadara actually, examples of written communication. Like Mr. Abdulaziz mentioned the procedures. Okay. Any other examples of written communication, please? Presentations. SWP, okay. So now let's discuss some of the benefits of written communication and limitations. First of all, it have some permanent records. Reference can be written carefully for clarity and wide distribution relatively cheaply. But limitations is indirect, quite time to read, jargon abbreviations, impersonal, ambiguous, because if you're not writing with clarity, it would create some doubts and so may not be read also because sometimes you don't get time. Language barriers, recipient may not be able to read, no immediate feedback, cannot question impaired vision also. These are some of the limitations and benefits of written communication. And written communication, even emails writing, displaying something on the notice board, or safety meeting minutes we are sharing, plenty of others, And same like Mr. Abdulaziz mentioned, the procedures or kind of presentations are. Now let's talk about the graphic communication. And the graphic communication is more like eye-catching, And it's also visual, quick to interpret, no language barrier, jargon-free, and convey a message to a wide audience. Like if this sign is you see on any chemical, you can say, oh, it's extremely flammable, or it's flammable, And if you put a 4 number inside, that also talking to us is extremely flammable. And that's why the HASCOM training is also important, for understanding the communication, how the chemicals communicate with us through labels, through SDS like the safety data sheet. So these symbols, like if you are writing something, no smoking. So if someone can understand English, then he will read that, But if he can't understand or if he don't understand English, or someone, like 22 different nationalities are there, and you are mentioning no smoking. But what if you take a picture of a cigarette and with red cross? So now this sign is highlighting to everyone, no smoking. Same way, at the traffic signals, everyone understand what is the meaning of red color or green signal or even yellow signal. Everybody understand. But it's not written there anywhere because it's quite logical and understand. Oh, red color means we have to stop. Everyone, either educated, uneducated, they understand. Same way, pictorial based, warning signs, putting in the workplace, highlighting all the danger zone or restricted areas, or even the safety rules in shape of pictorial images would be more easy to understand for people, you know. That's why it's eye-catching, visual, quick to interpret, no language barrier, jargon-free, and even convey a message to a wide audience. Whoever will be saying that warning sign, they'll be careful, you know. But there are some limitations, like simple messages, expensive also because you need to print, you need to make it attractive, may not be looked at, symbols or pictograms may be unknown, feedback, no question, impaired vision. So these are some of the limitations. So all the communication channels, they have some benefits and they also have some limitations. But since they are beneficial, so we definitely use all three methods. Like we use verbal communication, we also have written communication and graphic communication. And can we add one more, the non-verbal communication? The non-verbal communication. The way you are standing, the way you are having eye contact, the way you are wobbling of your hands, the way you are sitting, the way you are having some sign on your face, good mood or bad mood or angry mood, you know. So with your non-verbal communication, and 58% is a non-verbal communication. Yeah, body language, Mr. Ahmad. Yes. Body language. This body language is so critical, you know, to understand its value. Now, there are some broadcasting methods like notice boards, posters and videos, digital media, toolbox talks, memos and emails, worker handbooks. These are some of the broadcasting methods. Like you want to publish something and you want your employees, your visitors, customers, all stakeholders to be familiar with that. It's a quite straightforward media, like notice boards, you can display on the notice boards, posters and videos, digital media can also be used, toolbox talks, memos and emails, worker handbook. So let's have some group exercise here. What are the merits and limitations of using safety posters as a form of propaganda? What are the merits and limitations of using safety posters as a form of propaganda? So let me see your answers in the chat box actually. Merits and limitations. Okay, so posters sometimes don't give full picture of the message, and also who wrote it, and also hard to amend immediately because now you have published. It's not a presentation which you change and move on. But yes, it's a good way to tell people immediately and to highlight them. They have to act safely, in different areas. Like if you have a confined space or some kind of restricted areas, you can take a man picture and put a red line in the circle. Everybody can understand no authorized or no one is without the permit, to come inside. So there are benefits, but there are some, like you mentioned, it's don't give the full picture of the message, sometimes. That means we have to be very much creative before we publish, before we it's not like just got any poster and publish it. And sometimes people don't like, the way you made or use certain kind of graphics, Now, what is the difference between consulting and informing workers? What is the difference between consulting and informing workers? I hope you remember yesterday we discussed, the consultation and informations. So consultation means a two-way communication, a more better direct, message we can convey to the concerned person or to the persons even. And informing means just the information you share. Medium could be anyone. That means it's a two-way exchange of information, the consulting, an opinion between the employer and employee. This is kind of a consultation and cooperation, and informing one-way flow of information to the employee. So two-way exchange of information is much, much better than except only, rather than just informing or giving the orders or yes, your policies, your some kind of legal rules and regulations, you have no other option. You can't consult with the employees and tell them, can we implement? It's all from the government. So everyone is bound to follow. But yes, no harm to consult with them for getting their better cooperation. So still in that context, consultation is much, much better than informing. Now, what are the typical issues to consult on? First of all, introduction of new measures affecting health and safety, appointment of new advisors. These are the typical issues to consult on. Health and safety training plans, introduction of new technology. So these are some of the challenges which are typically difficult to discuss or consult on. I repeat again, introduction of new measures affecting health and safety, like you want to take some new initiatives or you want to introduce something new, which will definitely have effects on health and safety system, might be bad, might be good, all pros and cons we need to evaluate. Appointment of new advisors. Again, we required some consultation. It's not like immediately you hire by yourself and then nobody likes that gentleman or maybe his behavior. So no harm to discuss in a team that this is how we are going to hire or that is a new advisor. We are planning to hire a new advisor. So we can get these suggestions and some concerns, and health and safety training plans also need to be pre-agreed. Like 2021, what is your training plan? And this training plan, have you done training need assessment? And with this training plan, what level of competence you are expecting to see within your employees, or what are the benefits of this training plan to be implemented? What value addition we're gonna get after giving training to our employees, So this whole study must be behind with this training plan. So that means the benefits, the value addition. Then it would be more easier to allocate the budget or to convince the top management for getting the budget. And same way, introduction of new technology. These are typical issues. Sometimes management will agree, sometimes they'll take maybe 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, 2 years. Because adaptability, don't expect that everywhere it is available in the companies. People sometimes don't want to change. They don't want to go with the new technologies. Let me give you my example. The moment, January or March 2020, we got terrible effect of COVID-19 and started, taking some isolation measures in Saudi Arabia. The real challenge for me is I was the person visiting companies more than 3,000 for the last 19 years in more than 12 countries. Now, the issue for me is how I have to be ready for online trainings, which I never thought that I'll be giving any training online. Now there was two options. Two options, either to be stressful and not to create ready to learn behavior, that the new beginning of learning, or I should just quit actually and move on with that negative behavior and go for the learning mindset. And to be little bit effective, just to learn that online training methods, within 3-4 months, I completed 179 online trainings even. You know, that was kind of a passion, because I want to see the models, how people give online trainings, you know. So while researching on it, I started attending plenty of courses about health and safety, about CSR, about quality, about soft skills, and passing the exam online is not critical. So a lot of piece of papers in shape of certificates I started getting in, but my purpose was to get a set of skills to be a little bit better online trainer actually, which I was never been. And then to our clients, convincing them for online training is another challenge, because we have to guide them, motivate them. Oh, these are the benefits. I mean, we will still try our level best to make sure your employees are getting something productive. Even though the live face-to-face trainings, you can have better interaction, you can, but there are drawbacks also. If we find out the benefits of online trainings, a lot of benefits. But if we see some limitations, also some disadvantages are also there. Like if poor connectivity, internet issues are there, we all would be stuck. So some threats indeed are there, but in live trainings, of course, you know, people want to feel like the, we call it touch feeling, that the trainer is available with us, interacting with us, and we are having more face-to-face interaction and better understanding to each other. But for online, what I mean is getting the idea through 179 different trainings. Then I got ready and I told my training center, okay guys, I'm ready for online trainings. Instead of immediately go, oh, I'm ready. No. First, be trained, be competent, you know, into that area, because it's a new beginning. How to deliver online trainings. So adaptability of new technology is not easy. Imagine if I would go with negative energy, no, I will only go with face-to-face trainings. I can't give online trainings. Many trainers, they have, you know, stopped their career as a trainer because they didn't learn how to deliver sessions online, or they're not ready to go for this new initiative, you know. So adaptability was missing. Same case with our companies. Because of COVID-19, a lot of things we are changing, and whichever company have adaptability, easy adaptability, they are getting success even during this pandemic. And if they are not, you know, going for the new changes as per the latest technologies, even their quality, productivity, their business projects, all are in trouble, you know. That's why a lot of companies, they need down even fully removed from the market, you know, because of this COVID-19, because they didn't went with new technologies. But it's not easy, by the way. Even for me, it was not easy, guys. Even I've been busy, you know, 20 hours. Sometimes I noted 24 hours. I was busy to learn, attending online trainings and understanding how they deliver. And still I'm learning, to be very honest, how to make, you know, these online trainings more effective. But I can't make it if I'll stop learning. Same way, the companies are very much reluctant to adopt new technologies. And here, that is why consultation is very much important. So we have some methods of consultation. One is direct consultation. Like employer talks to each worker and resolves issues. This is kind of a direct consultation. Otherwise, we would have through worker representatives also, committee is formed to represent workers, regular meetings to discuss and resolve issues. Members may have rights and law as well. So this is kind of direct consultation and indirect. Now, what makes an effective committee? Like if you have a safety committee, how we can make it effective, we have few more minutes before break. So can you just highlight what makes an effective committee, in the chat box? What makes an effective committee? How we can make a committee very much effective? Could be a safety committee, it could be like, implementation of a decision to make a change. Okay, so this committee must be, creating some sort of action plans with time bound, and of course the decisions should be solid and positive in benefits to the company as well as the workers or employees. And yes, frequent meetings can make this committee effective. Okay. We can create another question, how we can make meetings effective, but that's not our subject. Let's be in the line of NEBOSH theories, effective committee. And yes, the time, this agenda, I totally agree, Mr. Muhammad Al-Ghamdi, the agenda and the record and frequent meetings and the minutes of meetings, every sign is so much important to make it effective, And this committee can play a very vital role if they are interacting, if they are taking the right directional decisions for the benefits of the company as well as the employees. And yes, address the right issues. Yes, Mr. Abdulaziz, so much important. Thank you very much to highlight these unique words. Address the right issues instead of debating, fighting to each other, or instead of imposing your own mindset. You are convincing to each other and you are talking for the right decisions or right issues which the company is facing or the business is facing or even faced by the employees, Excellent, mashallah. So we have to address the right issues. That should be the sole purpose or the core purpose of this effective committee. Excellent, mashallah. But let's see, as per NEBOSH, how we can make it effective. First of all, who is on the committee? The members. How we selected the members actually? Yes, Mr. Abdulaziz, excellent, mashallah. Like if they're monitoring EHS KPIs, key performance indicators, so they can know where is the area or further improvement through data analysis. Because in committee, different opinions will be coming. So you will have a better picture how to improve further. Now, Health and Safety Committee Forum, make sure who is on the committee. The selection of committee members is so much critically important. How often the committee meets? No harm to have a predefined agenda, like, full year meeting plan, I would say, every week or every day or whenever it's required, whatever. It must be planned properly. And who will act as a chairperson? What authority the committee will have? Authorities would also be defined clearly. What will be discussed? How the discussions will be recorded? And how issues will be followed up. Personally, I'm sharing with you, I noted there are plenty of improvement plans, especially as an auditor, I noted. Even the dates are there, but the this improvement plan, if it have like 40 different actions or items to be done, in fact, only 5 or 10 are done, rest of the things are ignored because there are so many other plans also. And the biggest reason was poor follow-up. Might be they have given, all the actions to the relevant departments, but later on, very poor follow-up or no follow-up. And that is why the relevant department, they're already stuck with a lot of challenges. So they would also ignore because they realize no follow from your side, so they will not take it serious. And I'm telling you, sometimes 90% issues are open issues, still didn't close because of no follow, poor follow, or ineffective follow-up, in other words, or rude follow. This rude follow, it's also creating arrogant or kind of aggression in the minds. So they say, okay, I simply damn care, I will not do it. And this kind of non-cooperative behavior, because of your terrible follow-up, things are not on the positive track. But anyhow, the positive follow-ups can make things quite applicable quite easily if you have positive follow-up with all the departments, and all the issues can be closed. If you can find out the issues, you can close them also by taking certain actions and preventive actions. Now, Health and Safety Committee Forum, issues that may be considered. What exactly they can discuss also, like they can have a study of accident and disease statistics, so they can find out where the company is standing at this position. If accident graph is going up and up, they would have a serious committee meeting and put some actions on board and make sure, reducing these numbers and also disease statistics as well. Review of reports from the active monitoring. Now, we will discuss what is active monitoring, what is passive monitoring. We will discuss later on all these things. But review of reports from active monitoring, examination of safety audit reports, we can discuss that one. Consideration of report and information from HSC, even consideration of reports submitted by a safety representative. Provide assistance in development of procedures and policy, monitors the effectiveness of training, and monitor and improve safety communications. Now, these are limited. Even so many other things we can discuss how to improve safety culture. Because if we have all these issues, the data is telling all negative stories about our business or about our company, then the real challenge is this committee should have a better plan how to create, how to improve the safety culture within the company. What I mean is, it's not limited. I mean, you can add anything which is you believe could be beneficial for your business. But anyhow, these are some of the issues what NEBOSH have highlighted, which can be considered within this Health and Safety Committee Forum. Now, the training. The health and safety training basically, first of all, must be planned. It's a planned, like if you are attending NEBOSH IGC training, it must be written somewhere within your 2021 training plan that on these days or within this month or before this month or before this date, you have to complete your NEBOSH IGC training. If you are doing things but not written in your plan, again, it's a huge professional gap or systematic gap, that you are doing things but not written somewhere in planning. Either it's a training plan, it's an internal audit plan, it's a risk assessment plan, it's a safety inspection plan, whatever. If you are doing things and not highlighted, somewhere is in the plan, of course, it's a gap. So, but remember, health and safety training is the planned formal process of acquiring and practicing knowledge and skills in a relatively safe environment. Training has a dramatic effect on safety related behavior. I always mention training and development, both are reciprocal. So the moment you stop your training, what you are doing, you are stopping your development. It's not like always come for training to the third parties. You can be a self-learner, like passionate self-learner. It's up to you. But never stop your training, because if you're stopping your training, means you are stopping your professional development. That's because it's have a dramatic effect on safety related behavior, especially without training. Workers try to do their job by copying others and doing the job the way they think is best without training. That is why you can go back and see if you have implemented some SOPs. Let's take an example of welding process or rigging and lifting. If you have writing an SOP and even implemented and training was also given, then see either they are following the same SOP or they have something from their own side or they are copying someone else. If they are doing something other than your SOP, then two ways are there. Either your SOP was not effectively developed, it has some insufficient informations or directions, or the people, they believe on their experience instead of your SOP. Don't teach me, I'm the experienced one. And experience, sometimes I say your experience, if you are not a strong-minded person, you will go with overconfidence, and overconfidence will make you bound to go with shortcuts, and those shortcuts again terrible outcome anytime, because we can't be lucky forever, right? So people think that doing the job the way they think is best, it is happening because of not delivering effective trainings. Now, how training help workers to understand? Of course, they'll be more able to recognize the hazards and the risk. Like yesterday, we had a separate presentation other than NEBOSH IGC, just how to identify the hazards and risks. Then also it will be helping to the employees to follow rules and precautions, emergency procedures, who to contact with concerns, limitations and restrictions, personal safety responsibilities, consequences of breaking rules, including disciplinary procedures. So training will be helping them to understand. And training is not only training. Even if I would be writing NEBOSH theories, I will talk about the refresh trainings also. It's not like one-time training, you have to keep the momentum on and on. Maybe refresh trainings, every time you'll be just giving them a reminder, don't forget, this is what you are trained for. So refresh trainings are also important here. And one thing, while working with Saudi Aramco, I encourage to the companies, make sure that everyone within your organization have attended the training we call hazards recognition or identification of hazards by themselves. Every employee must be capable how to identify the hazards, and you have to train them. Then see the improvements, inshallah, because they will definitely understand, oh, these hazards are there. They'll inform you and will put some control or follow some precautions, or using some PPs also, so they can ensure their safety. But if they are poor in hazard recognition, the probability of accident or incident or near misses will go up, because they don't understand how to recognize the hazards. I hope it will help you why trainings are important. Now, the training opportunities. We can give trainings whenever new employees we hire. We can give some induction training to the new employees. Whenever there is a job change, And the job change means new hazards, following a change in a job. Whenever there is a change in process, again new hazards associated with new ways of working. New technology, that is the real challenge of today's world. Latest technologies, the very abrupt things are getting changed because of new technologies, and they are coming with new hazards also. And our learning speed as a safety leader, trust me, is not good yet, because things are getting so faster. So the more changes in the market, more changes within our processes or industry, the more better speed of learning must be with us. Then we can have better understanding. Oh, with this technology, what are the hazards? How to control them? How to put the precautions? What kind of PPs will help now? And how to prepare the SOP for that particular process, because new technology is there. How to update the SOP? Then new legislation, the more technologies are coming in the market, the new regulations. If we are changing, we are bringing new technologies, the government is also changing rules. Like because of this COVID-19, a lot of changes. You just go to Ministry of Health website and see how many new regulations we have to follow. And of course, there are implications of new legislation. And this is another training opportunity for our employees. Even I would say for the top management as well. Okay, so in the induction training, what things we have to discuss? This is the last slide. After that, you can go for lunch and prayer break, and we'll meet again at 1 inshallah. So in the induction training, the number one document must be shared, which is kind of a framework or a commitment or a promise, that is called health and safety policy. We can also guide to the new employees or give induction to our visitors or customers or any interested party or whoever is coming at our site. We can share with them some kind of emergency procedures, how they have to act in case of emergency, God forbid. We can guide them about first aid facility and how the first aid would be provided if there is any problem to them, God forbid. Specific site hazards and controls. We can discuss about welfare facilities, safe movement. These are the prohibited areas. You can't go there. These are the green zone areas. You are only supposed to be walking, standing, sitting only within these areas. Accident and incident reporting, that how they have to report if they, not only incident and accident, even any sort of risk or hazard they observe, or any unsafe act or condition they observe, even they can report that one also. But as per NEBOSH theories, at least accident and incident reporting must be guided to the anyone, whoever is coming at our site, maybe new employees, visitors, customers, as I mentioned earlier. Now, consultation arrangements, if they want to consult with us, what arrangements are there? Safety rules, personal protective equipment, safe working environments, risk assessment, responsibilities of individuals, disciplinary procedures. What would happen if they'll violate the disciplinary procedures? Okay. And you can add so many other things as per the nature of your business. It's not, these are some of the limited ideas given by NEBOSH, but as per our processes or criticalities, we can add several things, So I hope it will help you to understand why trainings are important, why consultation is important, why informations are important to be shared, and how the safety culture have to be developed and improved, and what are the negative sides of a safety culture and the positive side of the safety culture. How are we going to measure that we have a better safety culture or there are plenty of chances to improve. Okay, guys. Since we have discussed so far a lot of things related to training, safety culture, and how we're gonna improve them, and different kind of communications like verbal, graphic, and even written communication. So now we have another 3.3 element, human factors, which influence safety related behavior. Even though we have discussed generally a lot of human factors, but let's see how NEBOSH is guiding us. What they're talking about, human factors influencing safety behavior on the job, the organization, and even the individual. So behavior can impact the whole 360-degree circle of an organization. So that's how we can realize how much it is important to have positive behaviors, safest behaviors, or to develop them as early as possible to save our organization, to have better jobs to be done safely, and even the safety of our all employees as an individual. Now, what are the organizational factors? The first factor is indeed the safety culture. And we discussed already the negative culture or the positive culture. And it's a game of commitment and leadership. So that means these organizational factors are so much critical to ensure better safety culture in our organization, and mostly belong to the human factors. But let's have some understanding one by one. Like safety culture, discussed already, there could be negative, some indicators, some positive, some challenges, some kind of uh, uh, criticalities to develop to improve safety culture. But ultimately, it would be easier if we have strong commitment and leadership from our management side. Resources should also be available if you truly want to be having a better culture. Work patterns are important to redefine. Communication at every level should be effective, easy to understand, easy to follow even. And most importantly, levels of supervision and peer group pressures. We have to work as a team, as a group. Consultation and worker involvement, that's also important. And training. So these are some of the organizational factors. Now, what are the job factors? Definitely, our employees have some tasks. They can be workload. Like you can do 10 different activities or 10 responsibilities, but company gave you like 50 responsibilities. So, of course, the work overload or the workload, unfair workload, I would say even, can also bring our productivity down actually as a professional. And that indicator also need to realize by the top management, instead of giving the whole pressure to one gentleman, better to have better, allocation of responsibilities with right level of justice. Same way the environment, we need safest environment, better workplaces, displays and controls and procedures. So these are some of the job factors. Yes, attitude is everything. A person's point of view or way of looking at something, how they think and feel about it, must also be considered imperative or important, and it can be changed. Attitude can be changed, but how? The number one factor is the education and the training, high impact interventions, enforcement, consultation, involvement. So as a leader, we have to bear in mind that nothing is impossible. If we have negative attitude or even I would say the terrible attitude of some of our employees, one-to-one counseling or through education, training and enforcement and consultation involvement, we still can try to change their attitude. That is why I claim as a safety leader, we have to be the mind changer. Now I will say we have to be the attitude changer as well, like a change ambassador for bringing and implementing or bringing some positive change at every level of the organization. Now, for this reason, it is important to consider the risk of perception. That means the way the person's brain interprets information sent to it by their senses. Can be like sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. Even though we are not specialist medical scientists or kind of psychiatrists, but still risk of perception, everybody have some senses. It could be sight, it can see something bad or unsafe, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, and all the factors have some impacts on a person's perception. Now you will be shown the following slide for 20 seconds. You are asked to count the number of F's. I repeat again, you will be shown the following slide for 20 seconds. Let me just open the, because open the clock with stopwatch. And you are asked to count the number of F, and please reply in the chat box. And I'm going to show right now and starting my stopwatch as well. So you have 20 seconds, find all the F's. How many F's are there? Okay, 20 seconds done. And we got Mr. Hamad reply 5, Abdul Aziz 5. And Muhammad Al Ghamdi got 6. So within 20 seconds, we have 2 different opinions. Even the text is visible, even the matter is quite clear in front of us, but still we have 2 different opinions. Like now we have like 3, majority is saying 5, but Mr. Muhammad Al Ghamdi is saying 6. So let's count up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And to be very honest, we must clap for Mr. Muhammad Al Ghamdi. The way his focus was working and the way he immediately, found all 6 F. I mean, brilliant. Like if you need something to observe deeply, use Mr. Al Ghamdi's skills, he'll just give you the complete snapshot of any scenario, or even, this NEBOSH exam, because of his this particular skill, he'll easily understand the scenario, And I told you, if you can understand the scenario more faster and easily and more deeper, answers would be quite easy to give against any sort of questions. And thank you very much. Okay, so yes, he is auditor by nature. Yes, Mr. Abdul Aziz, I truly appreciate, mashallah. And I'm very much excited that now the Saudis, mashallah, they are the very productive learners, and they are trying hard to learn a lot of things, and because ultimately you have to lead your country, mashallah. And that is the vision, the crux of your vision 2030. And every year the Saudi government, they're putting a lot of budget for education, That's why we have a lot of trainings, I would say professional trainings, even educational grounds. A lot of changes are coming as per the latest norms, But great, mashallah. Now, risk perception, there would be some factors that can distort a person's perception of hazard, and risk include, might be if a person is ill, like during illness, might be his risk perception wouldn't be so effective. Same way stress, teeth, drug and alcohol, previous experiences, training and education, use of PPs, workplace conditions, high noise levels. So all these factors will distort a person's perception of hazard and risk include. That is why we have a clear policy. Please, if you are sick, stay at home. Don't come to office or don't join us at the job site. Better take some bed rest at home or visit to the doctor. Even now we have clear-cut slogan because of this COVID-19. If you are sick, you are not allowed even to go or join your job or go to your site. Now, this element 3.4 is all about risk assessment. Now, my question is, how many of you have ever done risk assessment as a team member, or might be you'll be leading that project, or you have done risk assessment of any process by yourself? Any one of you, please.
Yes, there is always, we're doing a risk assessment, especially for critical activity. Sometimes this activity doesn't have any procedure or any documents to support. So we, for example, we have hot tabbing, or we have, like, for example, confined space that for the first time to be done. Then we do this risk assessment with the team. And after that, we can summarize everything and put it in a procedure, or we can just summarize it in points.
Okay, excellent, mashallah. And during this risk assessment, indeed, you will find some numbers which are highlighting the red zone areas or the red color or not acceptable. So have you ever stopped any project or any process not to do anything, immediate stop until the risk is brought down into the negligible level, or you even take some target dates for this one as well? Because this is the challenging area for the safety leaders. Always, whenever we stop any activity or any process, a lot of pressure from the management, from project manager, from operation manager. They will say a lot of productivity loss, a lot of money is lost because you stopped that project. And we stop, the risk is evaluated, and the numbers are terrible, and it's come under red. So we are bound to stop because the existing controls are not sufficient against this hazard or risk. But anyhow, remember, as a safety leader, this is one of the foundational skill we all must have, how to carry out the risk assessment, how to get involved to the relevant department and make sure this risk assessment is done as a team. Because as an individual, our opinion could be wrong. Like we are saying, oh, this let's take an example of driving. If the driving speed is above than 140, we all know the probability of accident will go up. And somebody gonna say, no, while going from Dammam to Riyadh, 140 is allowed by Saudi government in several areas. Yes, they have allowed 140, but with one condition, that there isn't any heavy traffic, or the front is quite clear, you're not facing any rush actually of the vehicles. With that condition, 140 is allowed, or the road condition is good enough, or there isn't any weather as an obstacle. Like if heavy rain is there, or if sandstorm, God forbid, is there, 140 is still on the board, is clearly mentioned, but does not mean that with that bad unsafe condition, still we have to go 140. So in that scenario, whenever condition change, whenever the speed factor will be changing, the probability of accident or probability of incident will go up and down, you know. Same way, the driver's behavior, if we take that factor, if a driver is having distracted mind, or he's driving and along with that he's smoking, and along with that he's eating burger, along with that talking to the family also. So in that condition, again, you know, the probability will go up. So a lot of factors are involved which need to be discussed as a team and agree a right number to calculate the better risk factor and a value with better perfection. So then we can put some comprehensive, effective controls even. But if you miscalculated, or in other words, straightforwardly, if you calculated wrongly, instead of issue is not need to be put in the red, and you are putting it red because you gave probability in a wrong factor, likelihood or something like that. So your controls would be accordingly, you know, so that wouldn't be so effective. That is why it is mentioned the risk assessment, please don't do it individually. Get involved to the relevant guys or relevant department or process owners and then complete it. Now let's discuss. There are some keywords like what is hazard? Something with the potential to cause harm. Could be physical, chemical, biological, ergonomic, psychological. We discussed even yesterday. The risk basically is the chance, is the likelihood of harm or occurring in combination with the severity of the foreseeable harm. Now consider a specific hazard and discuss in group the difference between the hazardous properties of activity, article or substance and the risk of harm occurring. Let's take an example of a chemical hazard, and even we discuss H2S. So let's take a simple example of H2S. Like exposure of H2S is there. So how would you, what probability you're gonna give? What likelihood you're gonna give? Consider the likelihood you have 0 to 5 numbers. Very likely, you know, lightly likely, or you gave some criteria to there. So imagine if you give most likely or highly likely, that means you give 5 numbers, that there is a possibility of H2S exposure while you are performing excavation deeper than 4 feet, or while you are having drilling rig and drilling very deeper. So in such a scenario, what is the probability of H2S exposure? If you gave 5 number to likelihood, then what is the consequences? And if you say extremely higher, that means again you gave consequences could be terrible or fatal. And again you gave number 5. So R is equal to likelihood mean L multiply consequences mean C. So R multiply L multiply C, and you are getting the number 25. If you believe the chances of exposure of H2S is 5, then the consequences, because H2S is a terrible monster, colorless, extremely flammable, is a poisonous gas. So it can kill in seconds and minutes. That means your existing controls against H2S are not sufficient. So in that scenario, the logical approach says, the technical approach says, you have to stop that activity and have some additional controls put in place, and then try again and even revalidate that there isn't any possibility of H2S, or it will be exposed within permissible limits, or maybe below 10 ppm. It will not go up. So in such a scenario, if you get the number 25, that means it's a fatal red zone. Either you use the color combination along with the numbers, it's up to you. Every company have different method for their risk assessment, different formats, So any format is acceptable, but it must complying if you are going for NEBOSH IG2 exam like risk assessment project, then your risk assessment project for any process of your company must be in line with NEBOSH guidance and theories, Even your existing format will be so much helpful, but make sure you make it aligned with NEBOSH theories, and then your project is ready to submit. And nobody can challenge it because you are doing it practically already, mashallah. So we will discuss in detail how we profile the risk, the process of identifying and assessing the range of risks that threaten our organization, along with the recognition of their likelihood and probability, like probable impacts, the current risk management controls in place, and the identification and prioritization of further control measures. What is the risk assessment? The formal process. What we have to do, identify preventive and protective measures. But yes, we have to evaluate the risk arising from a hazard and taking into account the adequacy of any existing controls and deciding whether or not the risk is acceptable. The problem will always with the existing control. If risk is still there and it is coming above than 20 to 25 numbers and coming in red zone, that means your existing controls are not appropriate, not sufficient, not effective. So you need some additional, because once you implement control against any risk, the number should go down. Instead of red color, it should go into the yellow or at least go into the green even. Then you can claim your controls are effective because risk rating is going down. And our challenge is, because we can't eliminate the risk, so at least we can try to minimize and bring it at acceptable or negligible level. Now, risk profiling, each organization will have its own risk profile. A risk profile examines what? The nature and the level of threats faced by the organization, the likelihood, the chances of those adverse effects occurring, the level of disruption and cost associated with each type of risk, the effectiveness of control. And I hope you remember on day one, we discussed what is the value of effectiveness. The effectiveness of controls in place to manage those risks. If effectiveness is missing, that means the controls are not effective. And anytime it will lead to an incident or accident, God forbid. So the outcome of risk profiling will be that the right risks have been identified and prioritized for action. The right control measures have been identified also and implemented, and minor risks have not been given a disproportionate priority. So we have to find out red zone areas, yellow zone areas, or green zone areas, or other two colors you can also apply, but mostly people generically understand the value of red, yellow, and green color. Now let's understand the risk profiling process. What we have to do is identify the risk that threaten the organization, identify the health and safety impacts and the business impacts associated with each threat, identify how well each threat is controlled, and identify the likelihood of each threat happening, prioritize the threats. So several factors are there for risk profiling process which need to be considered. Now let's see the purpose of risk assessment. There is a very straightforward purpose: to prevent death and personal injury, other types of loss incident, breaches of legal, regulatory, or statute laws, or the cost of loss. This is the purpose of risk assessment. And I told you this is the most important foundational document. As a safety professional, whenever even we join any company, the first document we must review, that is the risk assessment. Because if the risk assessor is excellent and professionally sound, he would have mentioned all the activities, processes, materials, machines, everything, he would have discussed within the risk register, so we can understand what are the hazards, what are the risks, what are the ratings, what are the existing controls, later on reassess the numbers and what additional controls even they implemented to bring down the red issues into the green zone or negligible level. So this document will give us the complete picture or the safety system picture of that company also. Then accordingly, we can see the procedures, the policies and rest of the documentation. And also through the site visit, we can have a clear image of that company, either there is a safety culture, yes or no. But yes, a suitable and sufficient assessment must be done, like identify significant risk, enable employer to identify and prioritize control measures, appropriate to the nature of the work, proportionate to the risk, and valid for a reasonable time. So the assessment must be suitable and sufficient. That is why I'm encouraging it shouldn't be done individually. It must be done as a team actually. Now, sources can be internal or external to the organization. List all the internal and external sources you can think of and discuss them. What are the internal and external sources from where we can get some information and discuss them accordingly also? Because everything we can't get from our own company, somewhat we have to do some browsing, searching. We need to get some help from the government, from OSHA, from different kind of regulatory bodies even, to understand what are the sources, from where we can get help. Like if we have fire relevant issues, the Civil Defense of Saudi Arabia can help us. And FPD, Fire Protection Division of Saudi Aramco, can also help us. If we have something relevant to environmental, so PME, Presidency of Environmental Metrology of Saudi Arabia, they can help us. Otherwise, if we are working with Saudi Aramco, the EPD, Environmental Protection Division, again can support us. Or within your department, within your Sadara projects, you might have one environmental engineer available, which is becoming mandatory nowadays. So you can get help from him also. Same way, if you have issue because of COVID-19 or pandemic, so through that way, you can get help from the Ministry of Saudi Arabia, not only from them, even from WHO, World Health Organization, or same way, something from your internal system as well. So internal and external sources must be used with a solid approach. And that is how we have to move on with some sort of exercises as well. But anyhow, there are 5 steps to risk assessments. The number 1 step is we have to identify the hazards. And number 2 is identify the people who might be harmed and how. Step 3 is evaluate the risk and decide on precautions. Step 4 is record the significant finding and implement. And step 5 is review and update as necessary. I repeat again, and these steps, the sequence we can't violate. We can't violate the sequence of these steps. So what we have to do is identify the hazards. Can be electrical, can be chemical, can be some examples. We discuss so many things. Could be radiation, could be fire hazard, could be any, so we have to list up the hazards associated with that particular process, or sometimes process itself is a hazard. And then with this hazard, identify the people who might be harmed and how, And then you have to evaluate. Here we need the numbers. We need probability, likelihood to be understood, multiply, and finding the risk rating actually. The number 4 is record the significant findings and implement. Because once you have evaluated and you have decided some precautions, now it's time to record the findings and implement them and review and update as necessary. So these are 5 steps. And whenever there is a risk assessment project, especially IG2 is all about risk assessment. These 5 steps surely we have to follow in sequence. And it is quite mentioned on their format, which I told you I will share with all of you as an example, inshallah. Now, let's discuss in detail one by one, all the steps. Like step 1 is identify the hazards. We are talking about risk assessment. And the first step is identify the hazards. Now, capable of causing physical injury, we have 2 categories or 2 types of hazards. One is safety, second one is health. I repeat again, we can create 2 domains as per even NEBOSH theories, even as per Saudi Aramco theories. 2 types, 2 categories are there. Major one. One is safety hazards. The second one is health hazards. And under safety, we can have some, some physical injuries like working at height, because of working at height, falling objects, moving vehicles, machinery, electricity, chemicals, can be solid, can be liquid, can be gases even. Low oxygen concentration, deep water, fire explosion, animals and violence. These are some of the examples of hazards under safety category. Now let's talk about health. Capable of causing occupational disease or ill health, like physical, chemical, biological, ergonomic, even physiological. Like if we take an example of biological, this coronavirus is a biological hazard and directly impacting to our health. If the immunity system is not fighting back. So the step 1 is identify the hazards. Now, the second step is, but before that, let's discuss some of the internal and external information sources which we discussed already. Internal, we can have some accident records, ill health data, medical records, risk assessment, maintenance reports, safety inspections, audit and investigation reports, safety committee minutes. Externally, we can see some national legislation, approved code for practice, standards from BSI, British Standard Institute, or international standardization organization like ISO, manufacturers information, trade associations like maybe UN, FMC, safety precaution publications or international bodies, trade unions, charities, etc. And how we can identify the hazards? There are some methods. The number 1 is the task analysis. That we must have some analytical abilities also, because we need to analyze the task. And the task can be even a small activity or the major activity, can be critical, can be technical, non-technical, but ultimately it's a task, it's a kind of an activity. And we must be capable to analyze, especially the job components before the job starts. And relevant to this task, is there any legislation which we need to follow or any guidance documents, kind of SOPs or any safety regulations from our customer side even. Sometimes they also guide, we call it COC, Customer Code of Conduct. Or manufacturer informations, operating handbooks, chemical safety data sheets, or incident data like accidents, near misses, or ill health. This is kind of hazard identification methods. I repeat again, task analysis, legislation, manufacturer's information, incident data. And for task analysis, we can follow these 6 steps, like select the task, bracket the stages of the task. Let's say the task is rigging and lifting, in other words. So you selected the task, now record the stages of the task. What are you gonna do? Oh, barricade. Oh, taking the permit. We have to make sure the crane is, the outer riggers are used. We're gonna make sure the operator certification. If he's uncertified, is a hazard, is a risk. So what we are doing, we are chopping up the elephant and putting up all the then center of gravity. How are they gonna achieve? Selection of slings, selection of any lifting gears, then the wind speed, then plenty of, so what we are doing, we are putting all the sub processes in a row and finding out, evaluating and doing risk profiling and understanding what is the probability of incident and accident and how it can be harmful for our people or property, And after that, we can evaluate risk associated with each stage, develop the safe working method, implement the safe working method, and monitor to ensure effectiveness. So this is called task analysis. Select the task, record the stages, evaluate risk associated with each stage, develop the safe working method, implement the safe working method, and monitor to ensure effectiveness. Now, the number 2 step is identify the people at risk. Could be workers, operators, like maintenance staff or cleaners, contractors, visitors, members of the public, or even trespassers, So whoever is directly or indirectly coming to our site because of any task or because of any purpose, we have to identify into that area, within that process area, who might be harmed actually. Now, identify the people at risk, vulnerable groups, like could be young people, and don't consider they are so much mature. You have to identify the young people, new or expectant mothers, disabled workers, and lone workers. We have to identify people at risk, especially the vulnerable groups or individuals, because might be they can't help themselves. So we need to identify them and preparing, in our emergency plan, emergency rescue plan also, or emergency response plan, we must not ignore these vulnerable groups if they are available or working within our companies or projects. Now, how are we gonna evaluate? Step 3, evaluating the risk and deciding on precautions. So here we have a simple question to ask. Is the level of risk acceptable or does it need to be reduced? I repeat again, is the level of risk acceptable or does it need to be reduced? And risk is equal to likelihood multiplied severity or consequences. So now the likelihood could be extremely unlikely, number 1, unlikely, number 2, possible, 3, likely, 4, very probably, number 5. Now same way we have severity, like very minor injury means 1 number, 2 means first aid injury, 3 means lost time injury, 4 means hospital treatment, 5 means disabling injury. Now, deciding as per the risk or as per the hazard we are evaluating, giving that number logically, technically must be sound enough. Like if the number should be 5 and you are giving 3, or if the number from the likelihood should be 4 and you are giving 1, so your risk evaluation will be misleading, to the organization actually. So what will happen? Risk is equal to likelihood plus severity. That means 1 to 5 number severity and 1 to 5 number likelihood. If less will be the likelihood, less will be the severity as well. More the likelihood, more the severity will be there. And you see, if we multiply the both numbers, we are getting up to 25. So we can go with dark green, light green, yellow, and some other colors. But make sure the red color is more important to consider, where we need to immediately take some actions, because this red zone, this 20 to 25 numbers are horrible for any activity, for any task, for any process. So that is why I'm telling, this is the critically challenging area. We want to stop the process, stop the activity, but management is not agreeing with us. Might be they have some more debating points. Our risk evaluation is not correct. But if they are saying it's not correct, so they must give some logical, technical points to us so we can reconsider. Or if we are right, they must be cooperative with us. Otherwise, what's the benefit to keep us as a safety team member? So once we evaluated, now the biggest challenge is how are we going to control these hazards or bringing that risk at acceptable level. So there is a general hierarchy of control as per NEBOSH. First is elimination. Much better approach. If there is a possibility, you can eliminate the hazard overall and risk automatically is over. Substitution, or find a substitute. Otherwise, try engineering controls, administrative controls, and PPs. But PPs comes last. The best idea is try elimination, substitution, engineering controls, and then administrative for sure required, and PPs. PPs comes last. It's not like we provided PPs and it's all done. Because sometimes we think, oh, engineering control are very much expensive, so we can't go for it. Like noise level is above than 80, like above than 100 decibel. And you are suggesting some of the machine parts need to be changed, or some of the belts need to be changed, or we required some, fencing or some kind of guarding of that machine. So, or maybe a special lubricant to reduce the noise of friction on that machine. You are giving some engineering controls, but company management is not agreeing. What they're telling is provide earplug or earmuffs. Now in that context, or put some administrative control, have some rules. Tell the guys this is a highly noisy area. No irrelevant unauthorized person should go there. No one will work there more than 2 hours or 1 hour. The PPs mean the earplug and earmuff must be used. But as a safety auditor, let me just give you one example. In one of the company, the noise level in the generator area was above than 105 decibel. Actual and average was 104 overall in different spots. And the earplug, what they provided, can only reduce 5 decibel or 5 to 8 or 10 decibel, while the legal limit is below 85 decibel. So that means this earplug or earmuff is not suitable. So we have to see on packaging, this earplug or earmuff is designed for how many decibel. I repeat again, guys. If the noise level is above than 105 decibel, and the legal limit is 85 decibel, then surely you have to evaluate either the earplug or earmuff what you are issuing, it is appropriate and as per the requirement, is meeting the requirement actually, and bringing down the impact minimum 20 decibel or maybe more than that, because legal limit is 85 decibel. And above than that, if decibel is above than 100 maybe, and the earplug what you are providing can only reduce the impact 5 decibel, what's the benefit? Because still the person can be deaf, still hearing damage could be there, and a lot of other issues within the body as well. More irritation, more aggression, even over aggression, I would say. A lot of emotional and mental changes, because of this highly noisy area. Because it's not like just providing people and our job done. We have to provide appropriate, suitable, as per the nature of the project or activity. Otherwise, if a smart auditor is there, he will evaluate. He will not be, I would say, agree with that condition. Oh, you provided earplug, well done. He will double check how much decibel that earplug can bring down. And if it is can bring down below 85, he'll be okay with that. Otherwise, he will highlight while visiting the generator area, I noted 2 electricians wearing earplug. This was the number, this was the barcode number, that was the name of the manufacturer, and it was not designed for above than 5 decibel. So the earplug was not appropriate or was not designed as per the need. So NCR or kind of observation or opportunity for improvement is raised by the auditor. Then surely you have to put some actions and corrective actions. So not to repeat again. I hope you got the point. So hierarchy of control. So what is the best strategy? The best strategy is elimination, substitution, engineering control, administrative, then PPs. Let's take an example of COVID-19, coronavirus. The first thing was elimination, and how we tried. Take an example of Wuhan city of China. Study this case study, how they tried to eliminate. They, sprayed and every nook and corner of that city, but still couldn't eliminate it. Then they try substitution. No, it's not possible. Then they went for engineering control, like isolation and, and everybody will stay at home. Nobody can move from here to there. Still things they tried later on through administrative, putting a lot of rules, changing legal laws, training, giving training through social media, through, digital media, and even the print media as well. And now ultimately they are trying with PPs. And what are the PPs? Wear the mask. This does not mean that, imagine if they will rely only on the PPs, the rest of all the 4 stages they ignored. What could have happened throughout the world, while even still the catastrophic results are there because of this one biological hazard, coronavirus, and how much economical disasters we face with different countries. The whole world is impacted badly, and now because of supply chain issues and raw material manufacturing and transportation, the cost of production is going up, and ultimately globally we all are facing terrible inflation, while our income is going down and inflation is going up. The whole world is facing this issue, because it's a terrible disruption because of this coronavirus. That is why all 5 stages are tried to control it, and now along with all 4, now they are more focusing on PPs also. And they're trying to make sure everyone to be vaccinated. So vaccination and PPs. Wear the mask and be vaccinated. Now, let's discuss a little bit further in detail. Elimination substitution, we all understand. Find the alternative, like if you are using solvent-based paint, use water-based paint. Engineering control, like isolation, total enclosure, separation, segregation, partial enclosure, safety devices. We can put some engineering controls. Administrative controls mean put in place SOPs, regulations, safety meetings, minutes, your warning signs, posters, all comes under your toolbox meetings even, all comes under administrative control. And that's why safe systems of work, reduce exposure, reduce time of exposure, like those information, instruction, training, and supervision. And the last one is PPs. We can use safety signs like prohibition, warning, mandatory, safe condition, fire equipment. Otherwise, the PPs. But make sure, as per Personal Protective Equipment Regulations 1992 as amended, supply suitable PPs appropriate for risk, ergonomic, fits, does not increase overall risk, comply with standards like NIOSH approved or other European regulations, ensure compatibility of items, suitable storage, information, instruction and training, how to use it, how to wear it, how to maintain the quality and enforce use of PPs, replace or repair damaged or lost ones. So complete training for the PPs, even during induction, is important for every upcoming employee. Now discuss the benefits and limitations of PPs as a risk control method. I'm leaving this open discussion and chat in the chat box. What are the benefits and limitations of PPs? PPs benefits and limitations. You are open to write whatever is coming in your mind. So excellent, Mr. Muhammad Al Ghamdi. The benefits are protecting yourself from cut and injury. PPs has limitations. Only protect the wearer. It is ineffective if not working or fitted properly. Practical levels of protection. Okay, the scientific reach and practice. The use of PPs always restrict the wearer to some degree. Now here I can create one question. Do you have PPs free area? Oh, within this area of our project territory, no need of using any PP. Excellent. And can you give some example of that area? How far they are from the project? Or they are within the project? And how do you quarantine this area? How do you isolate? Like office buildings, Mr. Muhammad Al Ghamdi mentioned. Even at the entrance, okay. At the gate. Like if I'm not going near to the confined space or restricted areas, I'm not going near to the chemicals, not going near to any heavy equipment. Yes, any area which is clear from all hazards. Toilets, but still, Mr. AB, it's really hard to say that there isn't any hazard, because you never know in remote area, in desert area. Even, the green zone area.
Yes, Dr. if you allow me. So just to clear this point, so in our plants, okay, there is a grid area. So whenever the PPE free zone finish, okay, you will find a sign. Either it's hanging signs or it's demarcation in the floor. This is PPE required area. Okay, so this is how people they know the boundaries and where they need to wear their PPEs.
Excellent.
But in common, whenever you are going to the plant, you need to wear your PPE as full PPE. But there is specific area, and you can know them by either the spot who's going to spot you in the field, or by the demarcation, the ground, or the sites.
Excellent, mashallah. And in the layout, are they highlighted?
Yes, there is if you hear about it, the visualization program. Okay,
Excellent,
so there, yeah, so it's there already.
excellent, mashallah. Great. And you are a role model, mashallah, in the market. Excellent. Okay, so personal protective equipment, these are some of the merits and limitations. The first merits is can be used as an interim control while more expensive or difficult controls are put in place. In some situations, this may be the only control option available. It may be needed as a backup for emergencies when other controls have failed. It is usually cheap. It gives immediate protection. So these are some of the benefits of PPs. But the limitations are more than benefits, It only protects one person, the wearer. It may not protect adequately if it is not fitted correctly, like mentioned by someone of a friend, mashallah. It may not be comfortable and may interfere with the wearer ability to do the job. It may increase overall risk by impairing the senses, e.g. goggles that missed up. It may not be compatible with other items that have to be worn and used. People do not like wearing PPs. If it fails to danger, the worker is exposed to risk. So these are some of the limitations. Now here we can take one example as per environmental aspects and impacts. Now the winter is coming and the fog season would also be started. Now, because of this fog, our goggles or or even I would say we use some shields for welding process, and since they are the mirrors, and because of this fog, the impairment is being faced by different employees. So in that scenario, what is the best solution? Either to clean every time, or there is any mechanism or any goggles you will select which have some resistance not to accept that foggy impacts, and worker don't need to put off and put on and again. How you are supporting in that context to your employees, especially in foggy area, or you will stop the project. Because visibility will be very low. I hope you got the point. Like you have goggles, but because of fog, the visibility is totally disturbed. So what is the solution for such kind of challenges, especially in winter season here? Hello? Some level of precautions and controls we are implementing. And if you do some research, you will find a lot of incidents just happened because of not maintaining or not using the right set of PPs in a better way, especially the goggles, the welding sheets, even our cars, the vehicles drivers, they are in trouble, especially in foggy areas. That is why it is important to use the guidance and legal standards, especially to use them for risk metrics, can help provide clarity, can set internal risk levels that require action within the set time scales. We can also understand the legal requirements, override the findings of a risk assessment. If the risk is low, if the law requires it, then it must be done. Applies all to semi-legal codes of practice and guidance can also be assessed. So we must be familiar with all the internal and external sources from where we can get all the legal assistance, or same like a legal advisory. And several companies, including Sadara, I'm sure you guys have a legal register where you are listing up all the applicable legal, regulatory, customer, or international standards, on one register. Even with that intention, who will be responsible to implement this standard related to which process or material or even department or relevant to overall nature of your business. So this register, even you will write down, it is current and revision number, just you keep that register updated. And whenever there is something new or any amendment is there, you again update your register, or any new regulations came in. So I hope this legal register would also be in your hands. If it is not, you can request to your safety manager or corporate safety director, like you mentioned yesterday. You can ask him, can you share the legal register? It will help even for NEBOSH exam, you can get plenty of relevant codes and standards while performing your risk assessment project. And you can give this reference not only for the risk assessment project, even for the answers you are going to give as in line with the scenario. You can again give a lot of references from your own register, which is being updated, maybe from your legal department, maybe from safety, maybe from your side, actually, you as a safety officer or as a safety supervisor, whoever is maintaining, at least get one copy and see the benefit, inshallah. Yes, there is a residual, acceptable and tolerable risk. Residual risk, the risk level we are left with after controls have been implemented, because 100% is hard to eliminate the risk. So what we can do, we can reduce, we can bring it at acceptable level, but we have to understand this is the maximum precautions and controls we can put in place, but still residual risk is there. No, what is acceptable risk? Risk has been reduced to an adequate level, and tolerable risk not acceptable, but can live with it for a short period of time with interim controls. Like that is why below 10 ppm of H2S, we can work for 8 hours. This is TLV threshold limit value. We can work below 35 ppm of carbon monoxide without SCABA, again for 8 hours. Above than that, we need permit to be re-signed, and and also SCABA is required. Same way, above 0% LEL, we can't do any hot work. Below 5% LEL, even with the cold work, without SCABA, we can work, but 5 to 10% LEL, we surely require SCABA and plenty of other safety requirements to be met. Same way, oxygen level below 19.5% as per OSHA, or 20.5 as per Saudi Aramco, we have to use SCABA, and above 23.5%, no work. So according to the nature of invisible enemies, we have to put some rules in place, and the normal range is 19.5% to 23.5%, again as per OSHA, and as per Aramco 20.5 to 23.5%. So make sure we are playing within the safe limits. Otherwise, there is another level which is unacceptable. That means the risk is too high. Like you given, we took an example of 20 to 25 numbers in red zone. So that means the risk is too high. Now the step 4 is record significant findings and implementing. We must have to understand the typical content like activity area assessed and hazards, groups at risk, risk and adequacy of existing control measures, Further precautions needed, date and name of the competent person, review date. You know what I will do is, I'll share two samples, one from IOSH UK, one sample from IOSH UK because I like their format also, and one risk assessment exemplary format of IG2 also. I will share one example from NEBOSH UK. So you will have a clear understanding, and maybe one sample I can share from my side. So by reading and understanding all three formats, you will have a clear picture, or you can compare your internal risk assessment formats also, or your risk register like Sadara's risk management register or risk matrix register. You can compare that one also, and it will give you a comprehensive understanding how that risk assessment must be carried out and what things matters a lot as per NEBOSH, as per IOSH, and how Sadara is doing it. And you can also study the risk assessment procedure of Sadara, and I'm sure you have clear understanding. As you mentioned, you are doing it. And based on that, make sure the groups at risk are identified, risk and adequacy of existing control measures, further precautions needed, date and time of the competent person must be mentioned, and review date. This is step number 4. And step number 5, we have to review the significant changes in process, substances, equipment, workplace, environment, or the personnel. If it is no longer valid, then accident, near miss, ill health, changes to legal standards, and periodically we have to review. We have to review the risk assessment whenever there is a significant changes, which clearly mentioned in process, substances, equipment, work environment, or personnel, or whenever you believe it's no longer valid, like accident happened within that process, that means the existing controls are insufficient. The risk register need to be updated, or the near miss, ill health, or change in legal standards, or you can do it even without observing any change. You can review it periodically in line with your procedure or in line with international standards. So these are 5 steps of risk assessment. Now, there is one group exercise using task analysis. Prepare a brief risk assessment and suggest control measures to reduce the risk involved within this activity. Lawn mowing, I repeat again, using task analysis. How to do task analysis? We discussed already. That means you need to understand deeper what can go wrong, and you need to chop up this elephant in sub processes or subtasks, then find out what can go wrong. And of course you can do, because this lawn mower, some companies, they have separate, I would say, business scope. Only lawn care services they are giving. The whole company is doing and providing one service to different clients, just lawn care services. So that is why they ask, what risk can be there? How would you perform risk assessment of lawn mowing? Because in the lawn mowing, even in the pictures you can observe, of course, some blades would also be there to cut the grass surface, even to cut the height, But yes, operator's competence, if it's there, he must be familiar how to adjust the blades, how to, reduce the height or get the more height of the blades according to the size of the grass, and how he gonna maintain that equipment. Plenty of things are there. So in that scenario, how would you do risk assessment? Excellent, mashallah. Like Mr. Al-Ghamdi mentioned, to wear safety shoes to protect from floor hazards, experience, training from machine. Yes, absolutely right. But these are the controls. So before that, we need to find out what are the hazards, what are the risks, what is the probability or the likelihood and the severity, and multiply with that, get the number, and then see the existing controls. And if they are not enough, put some additional controls and reassess the same process, same activity, reassess. Do the risk assessment again, because you have implemented some additional controls, then that risk rating should go down. I hope you got the point. So we keep putting new, better controls, and the purpose is to bring that risk at acceptable level. Like one of the risk is operating the machine in high speed. Excellent, mashallah. Or operating the defective machine, or the blade quality is not good enough, or the tire quality. I mean, whatever factor you get in, and you just need to find out who might be harmed. Now, you mentioned the risk of operating the machine in high speed. Now, what can go wrong? Who might be harmed? The operator, of course, right? How he might be harmed? So we are writing all the stories relevant to that particular risk, and then accordingly, we will suggest some better controls. And even machine inspection is also a risk. Excellent, mashallah. Think a little bit deeper also. What other risks can be there? And whenever you get time, I'm sharing, the risk assessment into your WhatsApp group. So whenever you get time, just study that risk assessment of that process, or gross cutting. So it will give you an idea. Like, let me just tell quickly some of the hazards, like unsafe system of work, the flying debris, hot engine parts, rotating machinery, vibration. This is another hazard. Even defective equipment, refueling mower. And what is the risk, especially of if unsafe work system is there? Eye, body injury, cut, burns, high noise level, hearing damage, crush injuries, overturning of ride-on mower. And if flying debris is there, eye, body injury. Hot engine parts mean burns, rotating machinery means cuts, amputations, vibration means hand, arm, vibration or whole body vibration. And for defective equipment, injuries due to defective equipment, refueling mower, maybe fire and burn. Now, of course, we have to find out the rating, either it's high, medium, low, or likelihood, and get the number and see what are the control measures. We have to make sure. Let's take an example. If unsafe system of work is there, and eye, body injury, and some other injuries are there. So what are the controls? I'm giving some example, like operator's manual is available where required. The mower is only to be used in accordance with the operator's manual, manufacturer's instructions. PPs are provided and also being wear. Mower is only started when it's safe to do so. No passengers are allowed on the ride on mower. The ride on the mower is not driven up or down excessively. steep slopes. So in the WhatsApp I shared, and it will give you some understanding how, it need to be done, especially in IG2, So I will share NEBOSH format, IOSH format, even one assessment from my side, and then your format. I would appreciate if you can also share in the group. So I would have better understanding, and your IG2 would be quite easy because you can take your processes, risk assessment is already done. You just need to take that data and put in your IG2 risk assessment project and complete the project as per NEBOSH guidelines, and your job will be well done, inshallah. However, the special cases and vulnerable workers, young persons we consider under 18, lack of experience, physical and mental maturity is not there, poor risk perception, influenced by peer group, eager control measures, prohibited certain high risk activities, we can't allow them, high risk machinery, we can't allow them to operate, restrict work patterns and hours, no overtime, train and supervise. So according to the age or the experience or kind of different factors, we have to put some comprehensive control measures, because we don't want to see any incident or any fatality while working. So special cases of vulnerable workers, new and expectant mothers, certain chemicals, certain biological agents, manual handling, temperature extremes, whole body vibration, ionizing radiation, night shift, stress, violence. These are some special cases and vulnerable workers. Even disabled workers, we need to identify the health and fitness criteria for some jobs, e.g. eyesight requirements to drive forklift trucks. Workers with non-disabilities, what are the implications of their disability? Now, the lone workers especially vulnerable and more at risk of violence, maybe prison officer, mental health nurse, if they are injured or ill, or e.g. confined space, entry as well. Now we have another small element that is called MOC, the management of change. Whenever there is a change, seriously we have to take some initiatives how to manage that change, And as I mentioned earlier, because of this new normal, because of this pandemic and coronavirus, everything is getting changed, and a lot of abrupt changes in processes and countries and cities, in companies, and in materials, plenty of things are getting changed, even in technologies. So we have to understand the impact of change, because change includes changes to work processes, equipment, practices, and construction work, could be even temporary works. And temporary works could include like short-term building projects, building maintenance, renovation work, demolition, or even excavation. So if even temporary works are there, still a lot of impacts can be there of that change. How are we going to mitigate the impact of change? So these are some of the management principles to manage effectively the MOC, the management of change. What are the principles? We have to do risk assessment of work, its impact on the workplace. Communication and cooperation are critically important between all affected parties. We require competence of workers and managers. Segregation is also important of the work area, emergency procedures, and the impact of the works on existing emergency arrangements and welfare provision for all workers involved. So these are some of the key management principles to mitigate the impact of change, because that change is sometimes unavoidable. If building required to be painted, we can't say no. If that paint is going on, definitely the change must be evaluated, the risk. That is why whenever we get any project from Saudi Aramco, they ask, give us your HIP, hazard identification plan. and also ERP, emergency response plan. And if work permit system later on is getting involved, a lot of other documentation like JSI, JSA, JHA, plenty of other documents, including work permit forms, Even sometimes they ask the CVs also to verify the persons are qualified. So yes, we required a safe systems of work, and safe systems of work, the policies, procedures, the rules and regulations, warning signs, our process-oriented approach to handle each process, but make sure the formal recorded system is there, systematic examination of the work is also being done, hazards are being identified, and safe methods are well defined. That is why this job safety analysis, JSA, is mandatory, Now, this is kind of an introduction to safe systems of work. To be effective, the SSW must bring together the people, equipment, materials, and environment. So PEME, PEME, people, equipment, materials, and environment. So 4 important factors. Who is the SSW for? What level of competence on technical ability they should have? What equipment will be used? What safety equipment will be required? And same case for the people and equipment, and after that materials, like what material will be used or handled during the work. Environment, where will be the work take place, e.g. space, light and temperature, in such a way as to create a safe work method. So remember 4 words: people, equipment, materials, and environment. For all them, we need to introduce a safe systems of work. And yes, the safe system of work must be linked to the risk assessments, like hazard identification and control recorded, documented so the standard is clear, developed by a competent person. And I hope you remember who is the competent person. With assistance from workers, legally required in many circumstances, employees' responsibility to prepare them and workers' responsibility to follow them. Employer responsibility is to prepare them legally, and worker responsibility is to follow them. And for developing safe system of work, remember this SRIDIM. SRIDIM means the S for select task, record step or stages of the task. E means the value to risk associated with each step. Develop safe working method, implement safe working method, monitoring to ensure it is effective. So through SOPs, through procedures, mashallah, you are already doing it. Just according to the NEBOSH theories, we just need to bear in our mind what are the best methods to develop safe system of work as per NEBOSH theories. And this is one example, like steps in changing a wheel. What is the process? Changing a wheel. Now, the step number 1, park the car in a safe location. Step 2 is remove equipment from boot. Step 3 is loosen wheel nuts. Jack up car is number 4 step. Remove wheel nuts, number 5. Replace wheel and wheel nuts, number 6. Lower car, remove jack is the number 7 process or the step. And number 8 is tighten wheel nuts. Number 9, replace equipment and boot. So this is just one example, how you chop up the elephant, how you create sub processes or sub steps to manage even a task, an activity or a process with better execution. No, once you defined all the steps, it's becoming more easier. What can go wrong? What are the hazards or what are the risks and who might be harmed and how he might be harmed and what is the risk rating or evaluation? R is equal to L multiply S. And then moving on with the existing controls or the current controls. And if some additional controls are required, put additional controls and reassess the same process or the same step. And for each step, firstly, we need to identify the hazards and then identify the controls. So two important words, identify the hazards and identify the controls. So like step one, changing wheel might have hazards like traffic, risk of violence. What are the controls? Select location off-road if possible, use hazard light. If you feel area is unsafe at night or if vulnerable group, call recovery service and stay in car. So this is just, one step example how we have to identify hazards and put controls in place. So suggest some hazards and controls for each step of the work example, changing in wheel. So each step we need to identify the hazards and the controls. And while performing risk assessment, which I'm going to share with all of you, you will have more clear idea as an example, inshallah. Now, introducing controls and formulating procedures, often most difficult stage. Consultation and engagement help gain buy-in from workers, allow concerns to be raised and addressed during development. It's not like just immediately, this is the change, this is the best control, and you start implementing. You need an endorsement or kind of acceptability from the concerned department or the concerned, maybe the safety committee team members, and then you go for implementation. It's not like just you decided something and the others have to follow immediately. That is why instruction and training is required. Information, instruction, training, and supervision. Information, instruction, training, and supervision. IITS may need detailed training in the SSW. Yes, we required the monitoring of the system. Must monitor to ensure SSW is being applied correctly. SSW is as safe as was intended. Now, by using this Surrendem, develop a simple safe system work for the task allocated to your group. Making a cup of tea, making a batch of cement with a cement mixer, painting a ceiling emulation. So, or you can take it as a homework or by doing, by yourself, because since I'm going to share a lot of examples through risk assessments, and maybe I will share one document of complete JSA, job hazard analysis, and it will give you a very comprehensive idea what we are talking about. So the last element of this element 3 is the PTW, like the permit to work system. I'll not take so much time here because mostly we all are already involved and we understand before we perform any activity, we need to get the permit, especially in restricted areas. It's a formal system, it's a safety procedure. Whenever we are performing hot work or working with high voltage, electrical systems, confined space entry, operational pipelines, excavation near buried devices, surfaces, or complex machinery, we need that system to be followed. There must be an issuer, there must be a receiver. That means details of work, location, date, time, duration, hazards, isolation, control, PPs, name and signature of the authorized person issuing permit. So that means, first of all, we require the authorized issuer. And we require the receiver as well, the name and the signature of the person receiving permit. Work can start like clearings, return to service, permit signed back to confirm workers are finished. Cancellation, permit signed to accept area back under normal operation. an extension if necessary. Like in Saudi Aramco, we get the permit for one shift, and if it's extendable to one more shift, if it is required, so we get the extension, from our customer. No emergency procedures and first aid. What emergencies could occur other than fire? There could be so many emergencies. Can we list up in the chat box the list of emergencies? List of emergencies, please. The last few minutes of today's training, so please little bit more energy. So I'm expecting, let's wrap up with a better energy, inshallah. So list of emergencies. List of emergencies, please, in the chat box. I'm expecting some of your answers.